Hi, and welcome to Black on the Mat, the space where culture, community, and yoga intersect through our lived experiences. We're your host. I'm Danielle.
And I'm Seisha. Join us on this journey to bring representation and shed light on often overlooked stories on the yoga mat.
We're creating an accessible roadmap into yoga for Black people, building a community in this predominantly white space.
And letting folks already into yoga know that we're here.
I'm excited. I'm excited for today's recording. And then, I'm also ready for lunch after. And I think that that's one of the most convenient things about like the online world, right? We can meet, it's totally different times for us right now. And then when we are done, I'm already at home and I can do whatever else that is I needed to do.
The joy of online world. Everything is online. If you think about it, COVID changed the game. Everything is online. Teacher trainings are online, meetings are online, dating is on. I mean, dating is always online, but people do Zoom dates now too. Like everything is online, including online yoga. I'm curious, for me, online yoga was where I started my yoga journey. Well, it's not where I started yoga journey, but it was where I felt comfortable in my yoga journey. Like, why do you think online yoga is important?
There are tons and tons of reasons, in my opinion. I didn't start either on online yoga, but I started teaching. And this platform and stuff that I built started from COVID, from me saying, well, I still need to teach. I need to do this. I need to move my body. I need to do all the things. And I feel like just online yoga provides so much access, right? And, I'm a former special ed teacher. Access is extremely important to me. And I feel like that is the space, right? We've created this space where you can just access it right on your computer, on your phone, your tablet, your iPad, whatever, put it up and you get to hear a professional teach a class. You can put your camera on, you can have one-on-ones and private sessions and get all these things done from the comfort of your home. And I don't feel like that was an option before.
Yeah. Do you remember the first person you looked at? Like, who was the first online yoga class that you took? Do you remember the person who you worked with?
I believe it was someone, honestly, from the gym that I was working at. We
Okay.
were trying to get people into the online space and offering classes and things like that available from home, since people weren't able to come into the gym just anymore or whatever for classes, especially.
So prior to your yoga teacher training, you weren't even looking for online yoga.
Not really.
Oh,
And
interesting.
yeah, I mean, I taught in a few gyms around Queens. And I think in that point in time, I definitely was more focused on like trying to make connections with the community that I was in and like be in the spaces to create that space for people, right? It was all brand new.
Hmm.
Um, and the online world kind of blowing up with COVID and with all the restrictions and everything really allowed me to, and forced me, if anything, to allow my services and my classes to reach outward to all these people, to whoever could find me in this space.
That's
Um,
interesting. I'm low key shocked. I'm like, I'm floored. I'm almost speechless, but not fully speechless. I was checking for online yoga way before I became a teacher. Never, I mean, for me, it was an easier way to look at yoga without feeling the judgment. So
mm,
I was like, okay, I don't have to worry about people saying, oh, well, she can't do this, she can't do that, or worrying about, maybe not liking the class. I can get online and I can check classes out. So I've been using online yoga, God, for years. I can't remember the first person I worked, like I kind of looked for, but I've been using online yoga for years and it's been great. I am
and
shocked you weren't using it.
And honestly, what you just said is exactly what I tell people when they're curious about yoga. They're like, I don't know, how is an online class going to help me? Well, I mean, it's in your house. If you are scared of other people seeing you, you know how they're not going to see you, right? If
Yeah.
you're just behind the screen, right? If you're worried about the noises that you make or whatever the case may be, or not, like you said, looking like whoever, that's fine. No one can see you. If you're embarrassed by your four walls, then you should come to coaching. Um, but and to just come do yoga, yeah, show up on your mat. Nobody can see you. I've said it before. I really don't think YouTube is a great place to start necessarily. I feel like you've got to, unless you know the right person to watch, or you like, I have a YouTube channel because I want people to be able to see what my classes are like you said, test it out, try it out. But like, I do feel like you should be able to have some eyes on you. So I also feel like a huge benefit is the one-on-one, the private yoga sessions that you can do online. Like that is an option. You can take private yoga virtually. And that wasn't something that a lot of people and a lot of studios offered before as well.
So that's where we totally disagree. Like, I feel like it's a great place to start because, like, it's kind of like testing the waters. Like, okay, what do you see? What do you like? And I feel like it's a great place to start just because if you don't know what you're getting into, why not see without having to pay for it?
Right. And I appreciate, like I said, I appreciate the access. I just feel like I don't suggest it. I suggest working with a person, but if you're feeling like no, if it's a no, then yeah.
Yeah.
Try it out. Why not? Why not find out what this teacher sounds like before you pay for their class or before you travel to get there, right?
Yeah.
Why not see what this studio has to offer? I'm sure they have some footage, some presentation online, some social media representation, something. I think it's a great place. I just don't suggest it as my number one option.
So do you use it now for your own personal practice? Do you use online yoga?
Oh yeah. And there are several teachers that I know that also do this, which is part of the reason why, right? Like, because I want to hear other people's sessions, maybe learn some of their transitions, and then like just switch it up. Taking a yoga class is so much better than teaching one.
You're chilling and like, okay, just do what?
Do
Yes.
what?
Okay.
And
I
then
don't have,
this.
for me, it's the excitement of not knowing what's going to happen. Because in Kundalini, there's like all the different steps, but someone may do it slightly different. So like, oh, okay, surprise, we're doing this warm up instead of this other warm up. So it's like not using a vibrator. It's like you know what you're gonna do with. Hey, I'm keeping it 100% real. You know what you're gonna do with the vibrator. When you're with a partner, you don't know what's gonna happen. So that's how I see online yoga as a teacher.
Okay. Mhm.
So how do
Mhm.
you search for like what do you search for? Like what is your search criteria when you're looking for online yoga? I'm looking for this. Do you look for different things, different people? Do you know who you're looking for?
So when it comes to an online yoga practice, right? If I'm looking for something specific, like say just back and shoulders, I know if I'm not on the mat enough, my back and my shoulders are like, girl, what you been doing? Like there's just it's crazy. So sometimes that is what I focus on. So I'll specifically look up yoga flow for back and shoulders. And one thing that I love is like the time things. You can search for any amount of time, 15-minute back and shoulders, 30-minute back and shoulders, right? That level of detailed, like oriented space. I can't show up to a yoga studio and be like, hey, can you just teach us for like 30 minutes? I gotta go. No.
I only want to work on this thing right here. I'm not
Yeah.
here for the crow pose. I'm not here for the shoulder stands, but only this. Yeah,
Yeah.
I wish.
You can't do that, right? And you shouldn't. Again, private sessions. Private sessions are all about that, right? But you can search that up on YouTube, just online in general. There's a lot of websites that exist now and apps and things like that that do have a bunch of teachers, have a bunch of different classes, have a bunch of different stuff. And you and I both are working on participating in the Yoga app, right? With Susanna. If you missed that episode, go back and check that out. But we are both working on that. And then we both have our own websites where we do this stuff. We had Faith on, who has her own page and has a huge YouTube collection.
Mhm.
There's a lot of opportunity. And so I feel like the search is what I want to work on, right? And then from that to choose a teacher, one, I would look at, I guess, just what if they say what they specialize in, or if I know a type that I like, or maybe it's just a matter of like fast paced or slow or yin, vinyasa, like giving me more details as to what it is that I'm looking for. Great. That helps me narrow it down. This is a good one. And then I'll be honest, as a teacher, it's pretty easy for me to say, oh no, I don't want to do this.
Click.
Not that one. We go. What do you look for?
So for me, it varies on what I'm kind of like we were talking about, varies on what I'm looking for at the moment. So I'll look for things like, okay, I'm looking for something with stress management, especially with Kundalini. So Kundalini is like, what emotion am I trying to work on, or what thing am I working on? And maybe I want to work on something in my nervous system. When I was having really bad cramps, I was looking for, Kriyas are yoga sets in Kundalini yoga. Kriya for PMS or menstrual pain, Kriyas for sleep deprivation, something for, I don't know, digestion or anger. And so I'll look for those things. That's how I currently use it. How was I using it when I first started using online yoga? Girl, I was like online yoga for 10 minutes, 25 minutes, online yoga for the morning, online yoga for sleeping. And then I started discovering people like Brett Larkin. I think that was kind of like the person I kept seeing over and over. And there was another girl, all white, but there was another girl who looked kind of happy and whatever, but I just didn't. Adrienne something.
Yoga
Adrienne.
with Adrienne. She's
Yeah, it was,
huge. Mhm.
yeah. She kept popping up. I was like, something about her yoga does not resonate with me. And then I saw people like Faith Hunter. I'm like, oh, who's this? She looks interesting. And then I started looking up stuff like comedic yoga. I'm like, oh, I want to connect with my ancestors. And so I would just look for different things. I am a Google researcher. And so it just kept evolving, evolving, evolving. Now for me, I have my favorites. Sometimes I'll go to different teachers, but I have my favorites that I like to utilize over and over and over. But I love online yoga. Like I think it's great. Like what do you think are the perks for you? Like the unexpected perks of online yoga? We get that, you can have private classes and stuff like that, but what are some of the unexpected perks?
Well, I want to say that a big thing that came out of it is not just a perk for me,
Hmm.
but altogether, I noticed from the beginning of the pandemic when people were just forced to be online that the online yoga space and online wellness space altogether, to be fair, created a space for Black people to be represented in here.
Oh, definitely.
I did not see these things. And this was true again in person. I was in person. I was teaching at gyms. I was teaching in my neighborhood. And like in Southside Jamaica, Queens, there wasn't a whole lot of representation of yoga teachers. Right. And so I definitely was like breaking ground for a lot of people when they came to my class. Like, oh, wait, this is the teacher. Wait, my body can do this, that, and the other. And the amount of growth, the amount of people that I know that I connected with in the beginning of the pandemic and like started I spoke to, connected with, had classes with. Some are my friends now. Most of them are internet friends, but some of them are actual friends. Like I could text them
Yeah.
because we had that space to connect. So the concept of creating a space for Black wellness practitioners to share what they know and how we learn and speak to us in
Yeah.
a way that is just receptive, right? Like received by us and understandable because again, like you said, it's a lot of white people. It's a lot of colorlessness represented when you look into yoga, into wellness and meditation. You can look in other countries. You can look in places where everybody should be brown and they are not.
Do you look
Like,
for other classes in other countries? I never thought about that. Like that would be interesting to look for yoga teachers in like South Africa or in other places. Have you done that before?
yeah, when we travel, we always look up like, is there a class we can take? And
Oh,
you
but I'm talking
know,
about online classes.
well, so that's the thing. We're looking up, right? Like
Okay.
who's here. We look up what they've got. Like, because I don't want also to just this is snooty. I don't want to just go to anybody's yoga class. Just just so we're clear.
Okay. I see.
And just because like I want it to be a quality class, right? So if I look up like, oh, this person, this is their class style, this is how they teach, this person is in this country, great. So when we go there, are we going to be near them? Can we take that class in person? How do they teach? Do they teach in English? Do they teach in another language? And as far as I'm concerned, you don't have to teach in English in a non-English speaking country. Like, absolutely not. That's
Yeah.
totally you. And I should be able to keep up or shut up as far as I'm concerned. And this is just visual. I can try this, and anybody can try right? To make that happen. Especially if you have a practice, you should be able to follow along decently.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's something that I appreciate, the fact that if somebody is teaching in that native language, whatever's represented there, like that to me is representation. That to me is like, great. I appreciate you creating access for your folks over here. That I respect it, you know?
It would be interesting to like listen to yoga in another language and feel the energetics of it. That's me getting more woo-woo, but I'm like, oh, a language I don't know. Let's see how this sounds. Like I understand French, but I don't know how well I would follow along with the exact words of yoga terms or yoga practices in French. I could do basic French, but I don't know about that. But like, I feel like online yoga offers a wider variety of options. As a teacher, it helps us to, reach a wider audience. It helps us to, be more innovative, but it also helps us to get that interaction and that feedback of what we're doing. On the flip side of that, as a student, I don't know about you, but I love retaking the same class. So it's not like, because you can go to a studio and you have this bomb class, you're like, oh, that was so amazing, but you're not going to get that same experience. That's
No.
the great thing about online yoga for me is like I can retake the class that like kind of really touched my soul and I really felt was like really good for me. And I love that aspect of it all.
Right. And even with my library of classes that I have on my website, people say that all the time that like, oh, I'm doing the splits class to work on my split,
Mhm.
right? So I'm doing it once a week while I rotate in the other things, right? And I think that that's amazing. That option to because I do work on splits a lot. I'm not teaching splits every Saturday. You know, so if you've got a good class that you like, or do you know, and you have the option to kind of create your own program if you if you work out at all, you create a program to build this, right? It's the same thing with yoga. If you create, you look and say, okay, so I like this flexibility, this hip opening, this splits class. I'm going to do these three each once a week. This is my practice, my regular. And then in a month, the amount of work and progress you could make being that consistent, knowing that I'm only paid for this much, or if it's on YouTube, I didn't pay for this at all, right? But I'm practicing at this level. I am
Yeah.
practicing this class. This information is going to be the same, and I'm going to see the difference after being able to be repetitive in this way.
So I'm curious, getting out of the space of online classes that are pre-recorded, what about online classes that are just online classes? Do you take online classes?
I personally haven't taken many. I've taken some. I
Okay.
would say that I don't currently. I have. It has been a regular part of my schedule at some point. It's just not right now.
Okay.
Um, and I feel like that level of consistency is also really helpful because it is, even though it's not a class that you're physically going to, it's a schedule that you have to keep. You've got your time slot, I got to get my mat ready, I got to get myself here. And I'm already home, right? So just like I'm about to run off and have a snack after or lunch or whatever after we do this, I'm that close to the kitchen if I forgot my water. I'm that close to whatever I have to do next because I'm still here,
Yeah.
right? But I still took that time out. And I really think it's a super important thing for us, especially as women. This is something I talk about in my programs that like set time aside for yourself, right? And sometimes that's a matter of, again, finding that time that works at the right time. Or, okay, well, what Danielle's class is at 9 a.m. That's perfect. Okay, I'm up at 9. I'm up at 8:52 or something.
And it makes
And
it easier because you don't have to get dressed. Your camera can be off, so no one
mm-hmm,
sees if you look like a hot mess. You can have everything look great, or you could be the hot mess. I teach online, all my classes are online classes and in-person classes. I
mm,
think what I'm hearing from students is like it gives them options. Like I may
right.
want it, like one of my students the other day was like, I wanted to take your class, but I was having really bad cramps, so I didn't want to get out the house, but here I am online instead. And so I'm like, great. I love online classes, just the actual online class as well. My One of my favorite teachers is in Sweden, so it's not like
Mm.
I'm going every Saturday for K practice to Sweden. Not gonna happen, but I can be able to access teachers I wouldn't have been able to take classes from if there was no online yoga.
Now, do you find any issues with online yoga?
Yeah, 100% as a teacher and as a student. As a student, I think with online yoga, you can have issues with the sound, especially if someone's like playing certain type of music, it may not come out right. Like I've had classes where they're trying to lower the sound, but it sounds like static noise, like I'm like, I don't think that was intentional, but I don't think they recognize that. I've had a situation where I was during my yoga teacher training. I love this story. During my yoga teacher training, I had to take a bunch of classes, and I was looking for an online class of Kundalini yoga, and so the only classes I could find were the ones in New York. Taking a class, chilling. I know the Kriya. I'm like, oh, okay, this is fair. I know exactly what she's about to do. Teacher loses her connection. Teacher's gone. So we're just there in class, and we're like there for a second, and I'm just like, everyone's like, okay, we don't know what to do. I'm like, well, I have a feeling I know what she was about to do, so why don't I just take over the class? And so that's exactly what I did. A girl took over the class. She comes back, and she's literally like, oh my God, I was literally about to do that next meditation. So, online yoga, you can have issues with technology. You can have issues with sound, which is still technology. You can have, it just doesn't feel as connected.
Mm.
I don't feel that's always true, but sometimes it feels like it's not connected. But you can have, like, there's something magical about being in a studio that I feel like sometimes I love, but for the right teacher, I'm totally down for some online yoga classes. What about you?
Yeah, no, the technology is definitely the biggest hiccup. There's definitely a difference between the energy that you're going to feel being in the studio with people versus being at home. But at the same time, I feel like that's the benefit part that got Black people into the wellness space online. The concept of people being separated from their counterparts at work, their peers, their oppressors, uh, the others, right, allowed so much more space. Like, okay, well, I can practice in my house, in my room, in my bedroom, I got a coat closet in the front that don't really have much stuff in it. This is where my mat's going down, whatever you got, right? It allowed people to create a lot of space on their own. So, like, being able to inhabit that space for yourself. If you want to light 20 incense sticks, put the candles on, blast your music, put me in your headphone, you could do that. You
Yeah.
can live that life and have that space in your yoga practice at home because it's online, because you're not affecting absolutely anybody else here. This is just you. You're doing it. You can enjoy it your way. And that's where the in-person class can be a downfall for you. There's not enough incense. It's too many people. I can feel the energy of too many folks, or whatever it may be, right? Like allowing that space to be tailored to you,
You
that's an
make a,
option you don't have.
you make a great point. So, what are some tips you would give to creating your home yoga practice space? Like, what does
Uh,
someone need?
well, I feel like one, you don't need anything, but you do need a mat, right? And other than that, if you like incense, use incense. If you like candles, make sure it's too far to knock over and use candles. Um, if you like a certain type of music, put on that music. I do suggest putting it low so that you can still hear the teacher. But you can find a nice playlist. You can um,
So, you suggest playing other music than what the teacher's using?
well, so I when I teach online, and I know there's a lot of videos that are like this that are musicless or so low that it's like just a very light set in the background. And if like you would rather listen to Cardi while you're doing this, then
Okay.
like, bust it open and make it happen in your space, right? Like, so if that is the energy that you're looking for, if you want to shift it in that way and control it in that way, yes. And I do feel like some people need a little bit more control than listening to the teacher just by itself. We just said, like, oh, this is great. I got to think about nothing. But the person that's like, I need something to temper this the way I want to, that person has that option.
Yeah, I've never thought about adding my own music to a online yoga. Like not one that's live. I get doing it
Mhm.
that's pre-recorded, but a live class, I would think I would miss something.
Well, and I mean that's up to your level of comfort, I think, right?
You
Like
just
so,
don't know what's
and
going
it
to happen.
also, huh?
A live online yoga class, you don't know what's coming next.
No, it's true, but at the same time, I do think that we are kind of talking again about different styles of yoga. That might be a thing,
True.
right? So in Kundalini, no, I wouldn't put on anything. I'm listening to whatever.
I'm like you don't know what's coming unless you
Right.
know it, but yeah,
And
you
that,
still
right.
don't know what's coming.
And I don't teach it, right? So
Yeah.
like I definitely don't am not as well versed as you. And then like it also is a matter of again affecting the energy and what works for you energetically. When it comes to vinyasa, if you're not feeling my playlist, um put on yours as far as I'm concerned. When I do my classes as well, which like I said, I've seen this as an option, I don't play music in the class. Everything is just my voice. So
Okay.
you hear me and then I send my playlist when people sign up for class. So check it out yourself. See if you like this. See if you want to put on something else. But I'm not going to play music. So if you want to download this list ahead of time to get it organized, or if this inspires you, then whatever it is, right? Like find that space for yourself.
I think of like the Vinyasa Juvenuti classes I've taken, like the teachers have had their set music list for the movements they're going to have. I feel like if I was going to add my own music at times to some of those things, it wouldn't have matched the same vibe and not knowing it. Like I totally get doing it while it's a pre-recorded class that I've seen and maybe I'm like, okay, I now know the vibe. I personally would feel a little bit like, dang, they were going for this slow movement, and I'm listening to they not like us, they not like us.
But see, I think that that's a part of tailoring the practice to yourself.
I see you. I hear you. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna definitely have my volume off because here's one thing I hate. So this is the thing about online yoga classes that I don't like as a
I
teacher.
know exactly what you're going to say.
Go ahead. It's when people have their freaking mute button off. I was like, and they're like, Jimmy, I told you to turn off the TV. I'm playing my yoga. Girl, do you know how often that happens?
And that's what I knew exactly where you were. And this is why my as a teacher, your mute game got to be strong.
Yeah.
Okay, like it can be helpful as well if you are a teacher listening to this, right? If you have a friend or somebody that can be the moderator, just give them permissions, even if they whether they're coming to class, whether they're not coming to class, and they're just sitting along the side, allow like they can sit there and they can listen and it'll just play, and then if they hear somebody, let me like, or you have to be aware as the online teacher to kind of get over there and turn it off, but mute everybody,
Yeah.
mute it all, because we don't need to hear you yelling at Jimmy,
Nope.
and that's messing up my yoga vibe, you know
Everyone's yoga vibe.
right, all together. So yeah, that's definitely a drawback.
Yeah. So, any last takeaways on like key things people should think about when thinking about considering doing online yoga?
I would say, I think it's kind of the same thing as we've said several times with trying new types of yoga, is just be open to it. Be
Yeah.
open to the idea, be open to what is going to happen, what you're going to go through in this process, right? If you're the kind of person that you have pets, if you have this, you have that, yeah, your pets are going to climb up on you during your shavasana. That's probably going to happen, you know. And if that's going to completely fluster you, lock them out for an hour. It's fine. You still love them. Things like that, right? Be the things that you have to be aware of are all in your home.
Yeah.
So try that out. And just like I said, be mindful. If you learn that this is a problem, then fix the problem. You have the autonomy to do that because you can create that space. What else do you think is important here?
For me, I think online yoga, kind of what you're saying, it's about just trying a bunch of different things, trying a bunch of different practices. I do believe it's great for beginners because it's like, let's see if I even want to do this and let's see all the different types. Let's see, in looking at the different types, you're looking at different teachers because everyone has a different teaching style. I love the fact that it's flexible. So you can do it on your schedule. You can be in a class and, oh, wait, I need to go to the bathroom. Pause and go do what you know, or someone, my mom is calling, or something's happening with my child. and then you go back to it. So it allows that flexibility when you don't have a lot of time. And a lot of us don't have a lot of time. But I also really love the online live yoga classes because it gets me to be able to take classes that are not in my neighborhood from teachers who I love. So I think that's a great way to explore yoga where it feels like you're in class, but from the comfort of your home and just be open. And then you also don't really need a mat. Like I know Susanna was talking about how you can use a towel. I prefer a mat just because I like the cushioning of it because I have hardwood floors and that is very hard. But I don't know. I love online yoga. Online yoga to me is bae.
Right. And that is the point that I forgot about too. You can have all your props. If you feel embarrassed at all, which you shouldn't, let's start there. You should not feel embarrassed about your props. But if you feel embarrassed about your props, pull out your knee pad, pull out your bolster, pull out this. You got the wheel, you got the pull them out. You at home.
Yeah. And you can use a towel for like instead of the cord, you can use a towel. You use so many different things. Use books as blocks. There's so many different things. You don't need all of them. We had a whole podcast episode about home-oriented props or things you can use instead of like what are normal standardized props. But online yoga is just a great place to start.
I think so.
All right. On
I
that note,
agree.
we'll see you guys next week. Ciao.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us today on Black on the Mat.
Let's continue connecting, sharing our stories, and sowing the benefits of having a yoga practice in your life.
Subscribe to Black on the Mat on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
I'm Seisha, and you can find me at Thick Thigh Yoga on all social media platforms and thickthighyoga.com.
I'm Danielle, and you can find me at HelloWell with Danielle on IG, YouTube, and HelloWellWithDanielle.com.